Hey, good evening, Martin County. This is the Martin County Business Exchange Wednesday radio show. I'm John Campion, co-host with Big Frank Mezzapel.
Righto. How you doing, John?
Good,
It's good to see you back in the big chair.
Hey.
I know it's supposed to be your month off, but thank you for being here.
Well, when we have a couple different Johns that can take care of this, and I'm talking, that's our first name.
Yeah.
Happy to do it. So appreciate Big John from Stewart Moving and Storage covering for me last week. And
Yeah.
I'm in here covering for John Houtrides today. And we are very fortunate
We are.
to have as our guest. She is just a real sweetheart, is Kim Jones from the Prescription Shop and Wellness Center over in Colorado. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Glad to be here.
Well, it's always a pleasure to hang around you. She's just a really good
She's
young lady.
our own very own ray of sunshine.
She is.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's better. Normally I get called a fireball.
Fireball.
I'm a fireball.
Fireball.
Speaking of fireballs, there's gonna be
Yeah.
some fireballs going on up in Louisville in a few
Oh,
weeks. Huh? So
yeah.
that's the big. How many times have you been to the Kentucky Derby?
None, believe it
Seriously?
or not. Seriously. I go to Keeneland, which is a
Oh, yeah.
racetrack in
Oh, yeah.
Lexington,
Okay.
which I love. It is on my bucket list, but I'm not really allowed to go to the Derby yet because I throw a big Derby party every year.
Well, that's good.
I think last year I counted about 58 people.
Yeah. So
Now, is that the one where they wear the big hats and the
Yes.
right? And
It
there's
is.
special drinks associated with that too.
Mint juleps,
The
right?
mint
The
julep.
mint juleps.
Yeah.
now I want to get into that in a minute. You have Kim's been down here in Stewart for.
I've been in Stewart for 5 years and moved up from Jupiter,
Okay, and then prior to that, she was in
Chicago,
Chicago, and then you're from Kentucky.
Kentucky,
Yeah, and whereabouts in Kentucky are you from again?
Mount Sterling,
Which is near,
Lexington.
of course, and that's thus the reason for Keeneland. And
Yeah.
I mean, just to go to horse races up in the hallowed grounds
Yeah.
is pretty cool. Hey, do you know any Kentucky Colonels? Do you know what a Kentucky Colonel is?
I do.
Okay if you.
I only know the Colonel, KFC.
Yeah, Mr. Sanders.
Yeah.
That's
Colonel
right.
Um,
Colonel Sanders.
actually,
Harlan
Harlan,
Sanders.
the only reason I asked that is I was watching one of my favorite shows, Chopped, one night, and there was a
Alright.
guy on there who said he was a Kentucky Colonel, and so he was given that
Title, huh?
Title, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's that's pretty big, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
it's not as I don't know if it's as big as like being knighted in
Yeah,
England.
Well, I don't think they use a sword. So
No,
Yeah.
they
Oh,
use
you
a,
never know. We probably use a shotgun instead.
yeah, either a shotgun or a drumstick leg. Yeah.
That's true. Or drumstick
Right.
leg.
Right.
Okay.
Anyways, in all seriousness, for just a few minutes, because we've had Kim on the show, she's been a member of the Martin County Business Exchange for 2 years at least, right?
Year and a half going on 2.
All right, and
All right.
she is a wonderful member. Plus, she is also on the board of directors,
Right.
And
Yeah,
they'll,
newly elected. Yes.
they'll move her up to you'll be moving up to the top at some point.
Yeah.
It's always fun. It's great. Plus, you can't beat the board meetings location, which I can mention it because it's a great place. We have their meeting once a month at the Dolphin and Shrimp Bar
Yeah.
over there in Jensen, and so that's always a wonderful place.
We enjoy
Right.
our board meetings.
Yes, there you go.
Well said.
Well said. Okay, moving on. Can they say that on the radio?
Yeah.
But anyways, so
So recently at the prescription shop, they
Yes.
painted a mural on the side of the building, and it's a historical mural. It's wonderful. And if you drive down Colorado, you can't miss it. It's just really a true work of art. It's really pretty neat.
It ended up being a lot more than I ever anticipated, but it's been such a experience, I think, for a lot of people. The way that came about, Frank, is I really just went to the city not long after I bought the pharmacy because I have 40 some feet of building, and driving down Colorado, it was pretty boring to stare at a big side of a building. So I thought it'd be fun. At first I thought I'll paint rainbows or, I just painted a big bright color. And then I was like, oh, we should paint a picture on it. How fun would that be? not me, someone else, of course, because I can't paint by numbers even.
That's a lot of bricks.
That's a lot of bricks. So I thought, it'd be fun. Well, I wonder if the high schoolers would like to paint. And so I went to the city and kind of brought it up. And at first they were like, well, we have people that paint murals. I'm like, no, it's not about the mural. It's about an experience. It's about the kids being able to paint something. And I think when I first started, I went to the teachers of the art department.
Right.
And I said, hey, I've got, 40 feet of canvas, basically. If you're interested, I'll provide the stuff. Get back to me and let me know. Well, Amanda Jones and Brian Johnson grabbed hold of it, thought it was a great idea. But I did tell them it has to be approved by the city. And I really would like the kids to do the work. It's got to be about the kids doing the work. I have 2 high schoolers myself. And I think nowadays some kids are missing that with all of the, online technology.
All right.
I think they should have to go present. And they did a fantastic job. What I didn't realize is it was almost 2 years in the making.
Yeah, that's what so it was 2 years in the making, and then from start to finish of the actual, it
was about 3 months. It was about 3 months start to finish on that. And it was every weekend. I mean, they put in some long, hard hours. Yeah. We're talking every weekend, Saturday and Sunday, sun up to sundown almost. So it was a lot of hard work, a lot of people involved. And actually, there was more than students that came. Students from other places kind of came. Some art teachers came. People in the community came. So it ended up being really nice. And when they first brought the drawing to me, it had Trapper Nelson.
Yes.
Front and center, though. He was like the center, and he was holding this big rattlesnake. And I was like, whoa, I'm from Kentucky. We don't like rattlesnakes. So,
but he is quite a cultural icon down here.
He definitely is. Yes. So we ended up moving him down a little bit and taking the snake out of his hands. But Trapper Nelson's definitely on there.
So what's the whole theme from left to right? It's a couple different themes, right? I mean, different things.
It's a lot of iconic people and a lot of iconic things in Martin County and Stewart. So from left to right, going by memory, Felix A. Williams is the person on the left. I've been asked if it's Obama. It is not. I've been asked if it was Martin Luther King. It is not. It's Felix A. Williams, a local hero here in a way.
Not Richard Pryor.
Not Richard Pryor. Okay. Yeah.
Neat.
Are you guys familiar with Felix A. Williams?
The school.
Yes, he was teacher of the year, I think, in I'm going to say 1957, but don't quote me. He was teacher of the year. So he's on there. Let me think. Trapper Nelson's on there. We have the Stewart Sailfish that's on there that represents Stewart. We have a chrysanthemum on there. Did you know that Stewart used to be, or Martin County used to be the
floral capital? Yeah.
The chrysanthemum capital of the world. There's a Dade County pine on there, tree. And my understanding is that was what most buildings were made of, back in the day.
Right,
the
Dade County pine.
Sure. The Victorian house right here on the corner. It's made out
I
of
just
Dade
watched a
County
movie the
pine.
other day, and it was there going, we got that Dade County pine that's going in there. And I was like, dang, maybe it was House Hunters or something. I don't know.
Well, so Martin County, before it was Martin County, was Palm Beach County. And before it was Palm Beach County, it was Dade County. And so Dade County pine was actually farmed right over in North River Shores.
Okay, there you go. Maybe you told somebody recently told me.
Yeah, that's probably me.
It was you.
Yeah,
you are our master historian besides Cliff Clavin himself, Mark Breckbill. I hope you're listening up there, Marcus Aurelius.
Oh, Governor cool. Martin's on there. He's the one shaking the hand with the Seminole Indian.
Right.
And then Hubert Bessie is on there.
For Bessie Creek.
Right. But I think it was Hubert Bessie. There's a story behind that too. He actually is the one that donated some of the land here. He owned it, and they were going to put, I think, the railroad track through Sewell's Point, and he didn't want that, so he donated land for Flagler to put it
where he put it.
So he's on there.
That's very cool.
Very cool. Of course, the Stewart Feed Store.
Yes, it's a very iconic symbol here, and I think the Stewart Water Tower is on there too.
Yes, the House of Refuge is represented on there. And then there's a building right next to Felix A. Williams that they kind of added towards the end, because we had some extra space, was the old Martin County High School.
Okay.
So I think
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. But it was Martin County High School students that did it, and the teachers. So
Yeah, quality work. It
Well,
really-
you know, and for people who love the history, as
Yeah.
you know, for those who've lived here, it's kind of cool to pull up there and, hey, while you're in there, you should go browse through the store because it's got the little hometown feel with really great professionals and wonderful service.
that's right.
And while you're waiting for your prescription to be filled, it's like a clothing store in there. There's
Yeah.
Southern fashion. What's
Simply
it?
Southern is
Simply
one of
Southern.
Simply Southern's one of the brands we
Mhm.
carry in there. So
Yeah.
we got a little boutique. We've got pretty much everything.
And
in
they'll
there.
get you anything. That's what I love about doing business with Kim and her group. So
Mhm.
thank you for taking good care of me. I love it when they say, is there any questions for the pharmacist? No, I am a professional.
Professional consumer.
Not that I'm really proud of that, but I'm a good consumer of a lot of different things. So
And I like to remind people we do give immunizations. So you're in and out in usually 10 minutes or less. You're
yeah,
not.
talk that one up. I think
Yeah.
that's really important. We're
I'm a
spoiled.
customer. I've done that. It's worked out real well.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I have to say, I think we gave last year close to 200 flu shots, believe it or not. So
So I got to get the other half of my shot, I think, in June.
Really,
yes.
there's a two pieces to that?
Well, I did the flu, and then I think this is the
The Shingrix.
shingles.
The shingle shot. It's called
Yeah.
Shingrix. It's
Yeah.
the new one that's out. So for anyone 50 years and older, please rush out and get that because I have had shingles and you do not want them.
Yeah.
It's a 2-part series.
So you're saying this is flu and shingle?
No, it's two separates.
Oh,
Yeah, flu's totally separate, and then the shingles shot, the newest one
oh,
that's
it's called
out.
Shingrix.
Shingrix, yeah.
Okay.
And
Shingrix
it's a
shot.
2-part shot, meaning you get 2 shots. So you get one, and then 2 to 6 months later, you come back for your
I
second
don't know
round.
if this is the place to bring it up, but I have to be honest with you. I've never gotten a flu or a shingle shot. And I know a lot of people say, I'm not going to do that either. And,
No, it's not-
my dad used
yeah.
to preach to me, get your shots,
Yeah, Dad was right.
Yeah, especially when you get to that certain ripe age of whatever.
Yeah.
I
just
agree.
hate shots.
I know.
Yeah, they make it painless.
I
It-
know. They
It was delightful. I visited with the nice lady at Kim's shop, and in 10 minutes I was in and out.
And that's covered by insurance,
Yeah.
I guess so. Huh?
Most insurances do
Okay.
cover it, yes.
Yeah, I'm in between. No, it should be covered by mine. I pay enough, right?
Yeah. We do travel vaccines, though. We do
that's
the
good.
pneumonia vaccines. We have a large gamut of vaccinations that we can give. I've been doing travel vaccines. So I've got a lady right now that's in Africa that we did, she and her family, before they traveled. So
You have to give shots for measles. That's been quite the thing up in different parts of the country, huh?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Crazy, man.
and the Tdap shot is something else that's come back around. So
Tdap.
Tdap,
Okay. What's it?
tetanus, diphtheria, and pertussis. So it's a booster shot you get. Most of us have had that when we're younger, but
Right.
you do need a booster. And so if you have a grandchild, most grandparents don't realize, but yeah, it's a thing now that before you go around a newborn, you really should have one if you're going to be around them a lot. Not everybody's pushing it if they're out of state, but there has been some cases of the whooping cough that's come back in Palm Beach County, actually, and there's been some infants die of it. So
Lynn Johnson, I'm shouting out to you to make sure you talk to Dee Dee about that because I'm talking about the Tdap. That's an easy way for me to shout out to a friend of mine.
Nice. Well done.
yeah,
Pretty
so-
clever.
All
Yeah.
right, now go work out, okay? Well, that's, gosh, you know what? I have a grandchild. So that is something you want to have around, you just
Yeah.
don't want to expose them to anything.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, and what's a trip is she's getting ready. She's our grandchild's 7 months old. She's getting ready to go to like daycare now in a month. And the only day she went to this woman's house to have like a little trial run, 2 days later, she had a raging cold.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we can't wait for her to start sucking on other toys that other kids have just released. We remember those days too
Well,
well.
absolutely. Yeah. And I went through that with 3 kids.
Mm.
So, and they all get sick, but,
Mhm.
and
It builds their immune system, though.
It's all
that's
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the part of it. I
Yeah.
mean, there's some good, some bad. There's some scary stuff out there nowadays, but just pray the hand, foot, and mouth disease never comes your way. That one was pretty horrific.
Hoof and mouth.
Yes, hoof and mouth.
Wow.
So it's
that's making a resurgence.
oh yes, in
Wow.
daycare centers and stuff. It does.
Wow.
So
Well, and one of my youngest son, who's now 27, got would it be called the rotavirus or
yes,
terrible?
terrible.
This was when we back in Richmond. I think he was maybe 5, dehydrated, sick, and he was put in isolation at the hospital.
Mhm.
You couldn't go around him, but we could stay in there with him. But he was he was terribly sick. Now he's a 6'5", handsome looking guy, and living a good life. But you see all the stuff our kids go through. It's how resilient they are.
Yeah.
Kids are extremely resilient.
I had the German measles when I was young.
Really?
That was weird. Back then I remember we lived in New York. I was like about 5, and when you had to pull the shades down, it had to be dark or something.
Yeah.
Or you that, or my mom was trying to freak me out.
Yeah. Or wear sunglasses. Yeah.
Yeah. Here, John, I'm going to make it really dark in here and make it miserable for you. So, that's the way it's going to be for the next 6 days.
We got to remember our parents would have these kitty get-togethers. So one child would get the measles, and then all the other kids would all get together, so they'd all get the measles and get it over with.
We did that when I was growing up. It was chicken pox, right?
Right.
So we all got the chicken pox. And you're
Yeah.
right. If one of my cousins got it, we had a chicken pox party because we all went to get it. And, nowadays the kids get vaccinated for that. So you don't really find chicken pox anymore.
But measles is the one that's been the nightmare, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Measles is bad.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Much worse.
Frank, are we taking a break soon? I just wanted to. I'm not. The only reason I'm saying that is because I want to have Kim.
7 minutes.
Okay, well, I think we can start this. I want to talk to Kim about how she decided to become a pharmacist.
I think that's a great question.
Can you elaborate on that?
I can.
Or should before you do that, should we tell people where your store is if they don't?
We should. So we're located at 622 Colorado Avenue, on Colorado Avenue, right from downtown, between Confusion Corner and US Highway 1.
Right.
And the name of the business?
The Prescription Shop and Wellness Center of Stewart.
Yeah, it's wonderful. She's really done a great
Look for the
conversion
mural.
over. Yeah, look for the mural if you're heading south.
Right.
If you're heading north, you have to look real quick, but don't hit the guy in front of you.
If you're going towards US 1, you'll see the mural.
There you go.
Exactly
There you go.
right.
And
the phone number.
The phone number is area code 772-287-3443.
Okay. All right. So back to John's question.
Yeah, you have a pretty cool. I loved listening to your story, especially the way you tell it.
So I did grow up in a very small town, very, very small town. Mount
small
Sterling. It was so small, John, that I won't finish
I
that.
thought you were going to say it.
I started out in pharmacy when I was 13 years old. I worked for my cousin who owned a pharmacy in the town next to ours. And back then I would stock the cards, and I would sweep the floors. I could run the register at 13. And in a pinch, I actually could count pills, believe it or not. So I started off counting by 2s, not 5s. I had to work up to counting by 5s, which is kind of a joke in pharmacy. You count by 5s. Nowadays, we don't count the pills. I dump them on this really cool machine that takes a picture of them from the bottom and counts them for me and logs it into my computer so I know you got the right drug. It's very cool, and it ties it back to your profile.
No wonder she doesn't like doing that 1, 2, 3, 4. She can't. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Wow.
That's
So
amazing.
yes, I started out like that. I couldn't wait till I turned 16, and then I could actually deliver the drugs. And I like to tell people, I think one of the moments that I remember very vividly was I took a delivery to an elderly lady who was very, very sick. And she lived right downtown in Bath County, which is where I was. And you knock on the door back there and she's like, come on in, honey. So I go in and give her, the bag. And she's like, get in my purse and get the money that I owe you. I said, okay. We did that back then. So I got in, got the purse out, and I said, she says, I can't really lift my head off the pillow. I'm so weak. And I felt so bad. And I started talking to her and she hadn't eaten. So I stayed and made her a grilled cheese and tomato soup before I left. And, I still remember that. I
cool
was
is
trying to
that?
help her,
Yeah.
get some food in her, it was like my grandma.
Right.
So that sticks into my head as one of my most, memorable moments in pharmacy when I was young, I guess. And I was 16. And I also remember I used to deliver to the nursing home back there. And I can remember pulling up, and some of them, some of the clients would escape. Yes. And so several times I had pulled up and someone would be, in a robe walking through the field because, there was a lot of fields in Kentucky.
Right.
And it sat in the middle of one. And, I would go running in as a 16-year-old and I'm like, she's escaped. She's escaped. She's in the field, And sometimes they didn't know back then. They didn't have all the bells, whistles, and alarms. And so we've come a long way. But those are some of my, my memories, I guess, of being 16. I remember at that point just because I could drive and deliver.
Right.
Not that I didn't deliver on foot downtown sometimes because I did.
So that was probably like about 10th grade, 9th, 10th grade, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Ninth grade.
And so at what point did you think you were going to pursue that as you were moving along?
It kind of stuck in the back of my mind. And when I first got out of high school, I actually decided to be an attorney. So I decided I was going to be a paralegal first. I was in paralegal school. Had very good grades. It really comes natural to me. And then I got an A on a paper because I had to defend someone who was in the wrong. And I did. And I got him off on a technicality. And I decided, I don't think I want to do this.
Yeah, right.
So,
yeah. Really?
So I just decided to go back to school.
Could have gone the other way because you said, man, that's pretty cool. I can
do anything.
I can do this. Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
But, and then I do remember there was a short period in between when I can start school and I decided not to do that my parents thought it would be really good for me to go work in a factory. So at 18 years old,
a lot of folks from Kentucky worked in the factories.
I built dishwashers.
Okay.
And for about maybe 3 or 4 months in this factory that was 124 degrees.
Yeah.
And I keep saying I had a man job because I actually used a big power drill to build dishwashers. And I had the forearm of a man, but
she just great incredible right arm. Popeye.
But I had but it did, I made good money and everything, but that's kind of, I knew I was going to go back.
You
and
were
be a
union
pharmacist
too, weren't you?
No, I wasn't.
Really?
Probably just because I was only there.
Yeah,
they knew I was there temporary.
Right,
so,
right. Well,
but
you should always work a factory job. It will, it tells you a lot. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad. I've worked in, probably 2 or 3 factories in my time, and they were, I worked in those hot joints too, but it's good.
Sometimes I think it's a trade-off. So one of the things I do tell people, and, even talking to my kids sometimes is, I think you got to find what works for you. Not everybody wants a high stress job or a high stress position and that sort of thing. And the one thing I have to say about my factory job, it was hard work. It was hot. But when I left, I didn't take it home with me. I left it there, and there's something to be said for that job. Honestly, right. I was never stressed. I mean, of course I was 18, but
well, back then, back then I was 18 and you get off second shift. We're down to Stan's Bar drinking 25-cent Frosties. Am I dating myself? No, not really. That's cool. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. It's John Campion with Frank Mezzapel and our lovely guest, Kim Jones from the Prescription Shop and Wellness Center in Colorado. We'll be right back for the Mountain County Business Exchange Wednesday night show.
All right, little up and away for you. And in this day in history, as you know, I like to do this. 1972, on this date, Charlie Chaplin returns to the United States after a 20-year absence.
Charlie Chaplin?
Yeah.
I thought maybe he came back because he couldn't get any gas anywhere else, and couldn't get it here either.
So, 1972. You know, he used to do all the silent movies, right?
Right.
And he never talked. So,
He's so quiet.
how did they know he came back?
Really?
He was quiet.
That's funny.
Right.
That's funny, Frank. I will laugh at that.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So anyway, so that happened. 1984. Coach John Thompson of Georgetown University becomes the first African-American coach to win the NCAA basketball tournament.
Now, you know who they beat? You know who they beat in that game?
1984. Who?
Georgetown. They beat North Carolina. Michael Jordan.
Ah,
Really?
Yep.
all right.
I remember it. I remember it distinctly.
Wow. See
Yeah,
that?
it's pretty amazing.
I actually
In
lived.
1972, I remember that's when my brother graduated from high school. You were 1960.
71.
71.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was born in 1971.
See? Yeah.
Well, I didn't go to jail till. Oh, never mind. I'm sorry. It's a family show, John. Nobody cares.
Yeah. Right.
That's great. What
Yeah.
else you got?
I have to go a little further back in history. Let's see now. 1942, the Japanese begin their all-out assault on U.S. and Filipino troops in Bataan. And yeah.
Ooh, that was brutal.
Yeah. Oh, in 1920, on this date, F. Scott Fitzgerald and Zelda Zaire are married in St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
Mhm.
I think they're dead now.
I think that's probably very
That's
likely.
pretty bad.
Well, 1910, Alaska's Mount McKinley was the highest mountain in North America, was climbed on this date in the year 1910.
So is it no longer? I thought Mount McKinley was still the tallest mountain.
It still is, but it was the first time it was officially climbed that we know of. But it could have been an Indian that
I
climbed
wonder
it.
if anybody's ever climbed Mount
Right.
Washington in like
Yeah.
January or February. That's the one up in Maine, right? Or is it Maine or wherever? I'm sorry. I'm not a New Englander because I'm a Tennessee Titan fan. So
There you go.
anyways,
Yeah.
Good
It's
stuff,
just-
Frank.
Yeah, it's just the little snippets of history for you.
so Kim, what's your what do you like doing around here besides working like the rest of us? Just working? Isn't it great?
I work a lot. I like to fish. My husband and I have a boat. We like to go offshore
good.
fishing. We go down to the Keys and go lobstering.
Okay, so you're is that coming up? That's coming up, isn't it?
In the summer.
Oh, yeah.
So I think lobster season just closed into March,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
it reopens. You have
August or
mini
something.
season the
Yeah.
last week in July, and then in August.
I've done
season
that
opens
once.
up.
I went with some friends of mine who used to do it religiously. I mean, they, had it done. Dee Dee and I went down with them, and fortunately, we were like the first day was opening mini season.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We got a bunch, and they gave us some to take back. And then, each day they were getting the limit. We had 6 people in the boat. You can take 8?
6 per
day?
person if you're in the Keys.
6 per person. So I think we got like 48 the first day, and we
Wow.
had to bring like almost all those home or half of them or something. And they weren't as lucky every day after that, but we got out of there. We were gone. We probably ate them before they were ever finished. But that was fun. I mean, boy, and the Keys. So you like going down to the Keys.
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really enjoy going down there. So,
Well, having a boat sure helps.
yes, it does.
Which key do you go down to?
We go down to Grassy Key, just north of Marathon.
Oh, okay.
That's not as far down as Islamorada.
Isla
is it?
Morada.
It's past Isla
Okay,
Morada.
good.
Yeah,
That's
just
cool.
past Isla Morada.
Yeah.
So we stay at a camper park down there. We take our camper down.
Mhm.
It's called the Jolly Roger.
All
So,
right.
Yeah, we've been going for.
Sounds cool.
Sure.
You spend any time in the Keys, Frank?
Took the Boy Scouts. Actually, I have a good friend of mine used to have a marina here. Him and his family had a marina here in the Stewart area, and they bought a marina in Marathon, and they moved down there. And I've been threatening to go down and visit with them. Never got around to it, but I know exactly where they're at anyway. But my son's Boy Scout troop, we went camping. There's a Boy Scout there's a state park that Boy Scouts use,
Yes.
and near Key West. And we
Wow.
went camping there, and then we actually got a tour of the base. One of the scout dads was a retired Navy guy,
Oh,
an
that would be-
officer. So he got us there right there.
Is
on
it
the
kind of
facility.
like, is
That was
there
a nice
secret
tour.
stuff there on the
Well, there was
base?
places we can't go, but
Right,
we had to
right.
be with all military people, all escorted all throughout. But it was pretty
That's
cool.
pretty amazing.
Yeah.
A lot of our lobster holes are old, like bomb holes or something, where they used to shoot off bombs and they leave these big craters, down in the.
So you guys
The
have these
bottom.
marked on your GPS and all that? I mean,
Yes, we do.
That's okay. No, I know they're all secret stuff.
Hundreds of them.
No, that's
yes.
cool. Well, it's a very interesting process down there.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very
As long as you
cool.
don't run across any live ammo that hasn't detonated yet.
I know
So-
that's
so-
very true.
Yeah.
So you guys are divers. Do you dive or do you snorkel?
We
down?
snorkel most of ours.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
it's not
that's neat.
where we stay on the Gulf side is not as deep. So
Right. Yeah. I think the coolest thing I saw when we were down there that time is when we went right, we went out into the ocean, and we went left, we went out into the Gulf. And
Yeah.
how many places can you? And when that tide would change, the way it rushes through under the bridges and stuff,
it's crazy, isn't
very amazing.
it? It is
Amazing.
crazy.
So hats off to y'all that get to enjoy the Keys.
Yeah, we love it.
Wow.
And I keep threatening I'm going to take up tennis again. I love tennis, but I
okay.
just don't seem to have the time right now. But
Well,
I'd
you
like to
know.
get back into tennis.
Tennis, racquetball. I played racquetball when I was up in Michigan. I played tennis a little bit, but I like racquetball.
What was your game though? Tennis, right?
Yeah, I played. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Racquetball. That's a great workout.
Well, in Michigan, especially because you have a limited weather experience to play tennis outdoors.
Well, the other big thing
So-
up there, and not to confuse it with, because I don't really, I guess it'd be easy for me to understand the pickleball craze down here.
Yeah, I don't get that.
But
yeah.
up in Michigan in the
Yeah.
winter, we would play platform tennis, which was outdoors. You had like a heating hut, big warm fire in the hut,
right.
and you had a fence, and you played with paddles,
Right.
and you could play the ball, the rubber ball, off the fence and stuff behind you. So it was kind of like being like racquetball,
Yeah.
but it was outdoors in the very cold weather in Michigan
Yeah.
in the winter. My biggest memory from that is my high school junior varsity coach was an incredible athlete. He snapped his Achilles tendon
Oh.
playing out there during basketball season where he was coaching us.
Oof.
So the beginning of this, and he spent the rest of the season in a wheelchair, and then later on with a crutch going,
Yeah.
champion, get back on defense, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah, what a bummer. That's one thing I haven't had happen to me yet. But anyways, fun games. The pickleball thing is huge here, apparently, and I think it's between tennis and I guess I should look it up and not sound like an idiot on the radio. So
I have not a clue. So
okay.
I haven't followed it. So anything you say would get by me would be
Okay.
fine.
Well, if anybody out there wants to straighten us out on pickleball, give us a
Yeah,
call at
yeah. 220-9788.
220.
9788.
Okay, because we're here for another 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we got another show following this, the Wednesday hump day edition of the golf show with James Stammer. And we're doing something really cool this
You
week.
play golf, Kit?
I played golf. I wouldn't
sorry.
say I do play golf.
You
Would
look like a
maybe,
golfer.
I would maybe take that back up again. I really liked riding in the cart, having a beverage, talking. I
Yeah,
think
hanging out.
2/3 of my game is intimidation.
Who needs another beer? Go ahead. What you're going to say? I'm
So
sorry.
next week is the Masters in Augusta.
Right, right,
And
yeah.
of course, one of the food items associated with that is the palmetto and cheese sandwich.
Palmetto or pimento?
Pimento, rather. I said
That's
it
all
wrong.
right.
Pimento
Yeah, I was
and
gonna
cheese
say, I don't
sandwich.
know, I
Yes.
like the palmetto.
No, pimento. I misspoke.
Be kind of prickly.
Yeah, yucky. Pimento and cheese. So Mark Muller from Ellie's Downtown Deli
Yeah.
is going to be here next week. We've got the different golf courses are going to be bring their best pimento and cheese sandwiches into
For
the
James'
studio
show?
for James' show, and then Mark Muller will grade them
Nice.
and issue a winner. So kind of in advance of the, this is for the The Masters.
You feel familiar with that?
I'm very familiar with the pimento cheese sandwich. My mom makes the best homemade
So
pimento
there
cheese.
you go. So you can bring that in and you can get into the
There you
contest.
go, Frank.
All right.
There's somebody calling to tell us, straighten us out.
Well, this is a good time for us to take a regulation timeout. We'll be right back.
Doesn't stop. And get it all ad-free.
Every morning at the mine, you could see him arrive. He stood 6'6" and weighed 245, kind of broad at the shoulder and narrow at the hip. And everybody knew you didn't give no lip to Big John.
All right. There it is. There's Big John.
Oh man, Frank, you just make the hair stand up on my arms. I feel so proud. Yep.
All right.
I was 6'6". Now I'm 6'2".
What happened?
No, that's great, Frank. Thank you. That's very kind of you.
Thank you, Debbie, for calling in and filling us in.
Yeah.
Pickleball.
She calls it it's the geriatric tennis game.
Oh, yeah.
And the paddle is between a ping pong paddle and a regular tennis, and they play with a wiffle ball.
Okay.
And you don't have to run as much.
All right. I'm in on that.
And they converted a couple of the courts at Langford Park. And of course, they have that you can go there and play.
Mm-hmm.
Debbie, I can't remember what you told me, but I know you can share that sometime here again.
Yeah,
because I can only remember so much. I think I'm doing pretty good so far.
I think you're doing excellent.
And of course, I've seen them a lot on the advertising up in Tradition and stuff. They got 25 pickle courts, no waiting, pickleball courts.
Wow.
So yeah. So anyways, very cool.
Pickle's optional.
So now, now that we've mentioned it,
Sweet
now
gherkins or is dill or
Mount Olive, baby.
okay, there you go.
Bread and butter.
When I lived up in Richmond, a guy I used to play golf with, he was the Mount Olive pickle guy.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah, he
rep,
was.
Huh?
Yeah. So he was always bragging about how crunchy his pickles were.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
That is great.
That's like when I knew Penelope Parkenfarker, and she painted pink hockey pucks in Peoria.
That's easy for you to say.
Well, actually, that's a true thing, and I heard it on a show I saw in Las Vegas when I was in 6th grade. Rowan and Martin.
Yes.
Yep. It was a live show.
Rowan and Martin's laughing.
Yeah, this is a real show in Vegas. My parents took us to.
Wow.
It's about I heard that in 6th grade. I was like, they can't be talking like that. I was a good Catholic boy back then. And I got converted to whatever I am. So I'm good. I'm a good Christian most days. So anyways, let's get back to Kim.
Yes.
Okay, so now you went to school.
I went to school to be a pharmacist, and I've kind of got a pretty diverse background in pharmacy. So I have managed specialty pharmacies. I have managed retail stores, so big box chains.
What would a specialty pharmacy be? Is this where you're compounding your own stuff and junk like
specialty pharmacies really deal with very expensive high-end medications. So back when I managed, it was a lot of, I'd say 90% of my patients were HIV positive patients.
Okay, I get it.
And that's back when the regimens were, some of them were 20 pills a day and extremely, extremely expensive. I mean, now it's come a long way. Most of my HIV patients now is 1 pill once a day. I mean, that's amazing to me, seeing what people went through 20 years ago. So it does tell you that modern medicine has come a long way. Something like that.
Okay, so the specialty pharmacies, and then you work big box pharmacies. You manage these.
Mm-hmm.
You manage these.
Yeah, so like a chain pharmacy.
Okay, a chain.
Independent.
And then what? So tell us about the opportunity for the prescription shop when that popped in. I mean, there's a bunch of years in there, or flash forward.
So I was
only 10 more minutes.
So I was working for a mail order company, which is in my background as well, and kind of saw the handwriting. It got bought out by a larger mail order company. Didn't think it was probably going to be locally owned and operated anymore for a while, or for very long. So I had a specialty pharmacy that was opening up in West Palm that had been calling me, please come open this and manage the store. And I kept saying no.
Is this when you were down in Jupiter?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so I ended up, I bumped into an old wholesale representative from an old independent I used to work at in the Keys lobstering. And we got talking, and I said,
bumped him in the Keys?
Bumped into him in Publix in the Keys.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe it was like, hey, you want another shot?
So I hadn't seen him for a long time, and we were talking, what are you doing? Where are you? This, that, and the other. And, it just came up. I said, hey, if you ever, hear of an independent maybe coming up for sale, let me know. I'd really like to go back to my roots. And that's kind of why I went into pharmacy. And lo and behold, I got a call maybe a month later, 6 weeks later, and said, I know somewhere that might be coming available,
what were the odds from you bumping into him and this coming up?
I know, right?
He's watching.
That's right.
Man.
And so it was about a year in the process of doing it. And that's back when we had a lot of narcotic problems. Let's say that was back in the oxycodone, OxyContin, we called the pill mills and all that going on. So to get a DEA license, they weren't handing them out very quickly. And
what year was this? What about?
5 years ago.
Okay. All right.
5 years
that'd
ago.
Be right. Yeah.
Yeah. I bought it February 1st, 2014. So,
okay. Wow.
But I worked with the DEA, worked with the previous owner, and everything went smooth, believe it or not.
Obviously that type of opportunity, if that's, what a lot of people want to do that are in your field to come up. In Florida, that was maybe it.
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
There is a lot of fraud out there. I actually just had a guy in from Miami that does like some business coaching, and he was saying that some of the places he goes to in Miami, he'll go 1 month and the next month he shows up and the doors are locked and half the things stripped out and
shuttered.
Shuttered out. It's gone.
Serving Cuban coffee.
So
I believe it. A lot of fraud.
A lot of fraud out there.
I bet. It wasn't long ago I heard about the lady who was trying to do dentistry in her garage up in Port St. Lucie, and it's like okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to go there.
Yeah.
But good for you. So I know it's been eye-opening, and one of the fun things having you in the Martin County Business Exchange is we get to share ideas and I think one of the things that we all discovered a few weeks ago in one of our little more concentrated meetings is, as a business owner, we all have the same issues. Everybody thinks we make lots of money. We don't. We want to be the best people we can to our employees because we're people of excellence. We do the best we can. And we want them to be like family. Yes. and we all have big ideas of growth or, staying with the current trends. And man, I'm looking at every day
just
and
trying to be relevant,
relevant.
Yes.
That's the term, and, with you've got some great ideas and stuff you want to do to transform that location, which you should. And,
the mural is a good example of that.
Yeah. I can tell you, I'm working on it, and pharmacy is changing. So my profession is rapidly changing, and pills in a bottle will no longer in a few years be my main staple in there. And, some of the things I am looking to do is I have a drive-through. Hopefully it's going to be open by the end of this year. I've been saying that for a couple of years, but I really am going to make it happen this year. More out of convenience, but I'm looking to bring in some clinical services, and that's where pharmacies are headed. I mean, whoever thought they'd go to their pharmacy to get their flu shot, their pneumonia shot, their shingle shot, think about that. And it's not that we are competing with the physicians. We're not trying to take their business, but that's the business that's not extremely lucrative. So we're there, we're accessible, use us for that and open up, the doctor's appointments for more critical things that people need. I mean, some people are sick and you can't get into your doctor's office sometimes for 48 hours, a week, Why not use us for what you can use us for? And we're very knowledgeable in that. We're very capable. So that's something that, has come along, something that I hope comes along sooner than later in Florida. Other states can do it, as we can do strep, or hopefully we will be able to do strep testing. So you'll be able to come in there and see if you've got strep throat or not. And if you do, we'll have a protocol where we can give you a medication.
So that would be something right now that is big with the urgent care places, right? I mean, the reason I know that is I have 2 employees that work for me that have had strep throat in the last 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how does a older person and then a younger person get strep? I know they're not sucking on Fisher Price toys.
Exactly.
That's what I associate.
Right.
That's great. So good.
Yeah. Flu testing to swab for the flu. Hopefully we'll be able to do that. I know back in Kentucky, the pharmacists can do it there. I'm getting ready to start doing INR testing in there. I got blood pressure, cholesterol, bone density. So I'm going to open up a whole gamut of services, clinical services that we will be offering so that people have kind of a quicker access to it.
Yeah.
And it really does, we'll communicate back to the doctor, educate the patients on stuff. And that, that leaves these doctors open to do what they're better at doing, stuff that I can't be doing. So I'm hoping to take some of the tedious work off their plate so they can concentrate on the people that, need more serious health care.
Right.
Do you have to?
And that's the wellness component of your title.
It is. That is a wellness component.
Is that recognized in the doctor community that things are changing? I mean, like the word relevant can be overused, but I use it so much lately because I try to keep things relevant. You have to, and if you're not looking down the road, I mean, I know the things that I have to do that I've got to figure out. I got to do it because we're competing against that other stuff.
Exactly.
And we hope that we have a great or good enough following that doing business with the local, Kim Jones is the way to go, and her fantastic little business over there. So having that personal pharmacy is very nice. And I know I converted not long ago, and I'm very happy that I did. And I see it's just more personal.
Right.
God, they call me a lot. No, but it's all good. But let's, there we got another one.
Yeah.
You got it, Frank? You want to? We've got another mystery caller. We gave away the wine last week.
Hang on.
Okay. So,
all right, Debbie has a question. Got to make it in 30 seconds or less. Whoop, hang on. All right, there you are. Okay, Debbie, go ahead.
Okay, hi, how are you tonight? And I've met you before at the prescription shop, and you've been on the show before. So welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you for being there. Are you going to be, with all these services, Medicare friendly? Because we have such a high volume of older people in our area and retired people in our area, or do you have to have a doctor's script to do this?
No, you do not have to have a doctor's script to do this. So you can walk right in, and we actually have a protocol so we can give your immunizations, your flu shot, your pneumonia shot, and a lot of the INR and clinical services testing that I will be bringing on. You will not need a doctor's prescription for it.
And
Good question, Debbie.
Debbie,
Thank you.
great. We really appreciate you calling. And I just want to tell everybody out there to call the prescription shop 287-3443. This has been the Martin County Business Exchange Wednesday night show with our wonderful guest, Kim Jones. And if you want to see her live and in color, just stop by the store. She is a wonderful lady. Frank, thank you for letting me back
John.
in.
Thank you, Kim.
And we'll see you when we see you.
Okay, next week, right
All right.
here at this time.
See you in the hood.
All right.
Thank you.